So hopefully you've seen my print and you're looking to build it. So here we've got everything you'll need, and here is an example of the puppet already built. It's kind of a fun one. I chose to share it because, you know, I just had a lot of fun with my son with it. You know, nothing like biting your kid with a puppet. It's pretty funny. So I thought other people would enjoy it, and you know, if you enjoy it with your kids or anybody else, share a story with it in the comments or whatever. I'd love to hear about it because I've just really enjoyed this, and I hope you do too. So we have everything we need here on the table. This is what you're probably going to want to have to build this. Not everything is absolutely necessary. Let's see, things you'll need. You're going to need the print. Here is the top of the mouth. They're different. This is different sizes, so try to keep them in order. This is the top of the mouth, middle of the mouth, bottom of the mouth. This is the bottom of the mouth, top of the mouth, obviously the eyeballs. Gaffer tape. This stuff is not absolutely necessary. You could use other tape, but it comes in pretty handy. It's really nice to use. If you have it, use it. If you don't have it, you might want to buy some because it's pretty handy stuff, but not absolutely necessary. These guys are not absolutely necessary, but if you paint yours like I have here, I'm not going to show that process, but if you do paint yours, there's a little hole in the back, and this little skewer will go in there. This is the smaller size skewer. So you can just slide it in there, sort of tape it on because it's a little loose, at least on mine. And then you don't have to get your fingers in the paint. So that's kind of helpful. Don't absolutely need the skewers. This is just one that was broken in two because I didn't need that long of a skewer. So there's that. You're going to need some pliers. I would definitely have these on hand. These little snips are handy. You don't absolutely need them, but for cutting the zip ties, they're good. You're going to need some zip ties. These are kind of essential. You can see little 4-inch cables. They're pretty cheap. Get 100 of them. Definitely going to need some scissors, a Sharpie. You're going to need a sock. I think this is like a knee-high sock. You can use a slightly smaller sock. This one is a little smaller. I wouldn't go any smaller than that though, because this one was a little harder to build. Thigh-high socks work as well, but they're probably just slightly too big, so this is kind of ideal. E6000 glue. You're definitely going to want this stuff. It's sort of bendy, flexible, and that's perfect for a puppet. And these little eyeballs, you can get them on Amazon. I'll try to post a link or measurements or something. I do have a printed version of this that you could paint yourself, but these are cheap and they look cool and they're glass. Let me see the ones that we're going to use for this project here, right there. And I think that is everything that we need. I probably forgot something, but all right. Future Brian here forgot some things, so you're probably going to want some gloves. Some of these little black clips or some kind of clip to hold down your project as you're working on it. These are helpful. Don't absolutely need them, but I probably would get them. And some felt. You don't absolutely need the felt either. If you have the gaffer tape, I think you could actually do the job of the felt with the gaffer tape and just do it that way. I think it would probably look perfectly nice. It might not hold up as long, but you know, how long are you really wanting this to hold up? Years or 10 years? I don't know. This will hold up for a while, but the gaffer tape I think could work. Anyway, let's get back to the project. All right, we're going to want to use this. This is a little tool. It's just for building the project, but it makes a big difference in how it turns out and kind of repeatability. So use that. All right, to start with, we're just going to thread them through. This doesn't matter how they go in. At this point, we're actually going to take them back out. So just thread them through the front, out the back. Normally it matters which way the thing is pointing, but in this case it does not, because like I said, we're going to take it out. All right, so let's do this. And at certain points in this project I may fast forward because hearing me talk is going to be kind of boring. This is what we want. Make sure that this and this match up, and then that and that match up. So there we go. And What we're going for is nice even lines here. Get our spacing nice and even. There we go. And on the back, this is going to be the back, so it doesn't matter too much. All right, get that nice and even, and I hope you can see that. There we go. We'll just put that down like that, nice and good. And here's the cool part about the gaffer tape, is we can just do this. There we go. And here. Use this on this side. There we go. Looks pretty good. I'm just going to tear that off. We're going to pull all of that out. We're going to flip this over and now put it onto the back. And this is where it's going to live. Actually, I guess this will be the front. And just put all those through there. These don't need to be zip tied up, so don't cinch them down. There's really no need to. This little tool that I've made, it's nothing fancy, but it keeps the mouth all in place while you're working on it, and it makes it a whole lot easier. So definitely use it. Don't try to do it without it. It makes making the puppets kind of repeatable, I guess. All right, here we go. So I've got a little piece of gaffer tape that I've already ripped off, and we're just gonna get a little thin piece here. We're just gonna take this little thin piece and put it right in there, just to cover up that seam and keep the glue from being kind of exposed and sticking to itself. All right, and here's another one. This one's a little long. I like these to be short and thin, so that it doesn't get in the way of the glue when we glue the teeth in and the felt. This one is cut already to partially the size, so you can just pre-cut it down a little bit. Doesn't have to be perfect. We'll trim it up later. All right, this is going to be the back. Your little tool is going to be on the back. Your zip ties are going to be in the front. Your small tape is going to be in the front. Your zip ties should be facing forward, so I got this goofed up. All right, so you can see this is now assembled correctly. We've got the short piece of tape in the front and the zip ties protruding out the front. And we have our little tool that holds the whole assembly together in the back. And there we go. All right, so that is what we want. You can see that there is a little seam right here on the front of the sock, and this is what we want to cut out. All right, so next we're going to cut the sock. On the sock, you're going to find a little seam in the front. We're going to trim that out. You kind of want to stay as close to it as possible. Not cut out too much extra sock. We want all the sock we can get. So we're just going to trim around this. But do try to get rid of the seam, I think. All right. There we go. All right, perfect. Now, we're going to put our piece of plastic in here. And just put it all the way around like this. And this is perfect. And now you can kind of see what the zip ties are for also. So let's try to get it. All right, and here's where we're going to want to put on that glove, and we're probably going to want some paper towels. because we're going to use the E6000. This stuff's kind of gross, but it's good stuff. We're going to get lots of it on there. All right, here we go. First thing I'm going to do is get it on my other hand. It's not, doesn't have a glove on it, I can tell. All right, yeah, let's do it this way. There we go. We're just going to put a nice glob all the way around. Really get that sock stuck on there. In fact, you can get it on the sock part too. There we go. Lots of this stuff. Oh, there we go. I just glued the zip tie. Good job. That's probably not what you really want to do, but that's all right. We can make it work. We got more zip ties. We can always get a new one. Push those up out of there, and that will make it a little easier. Here's our finished sock. You can see I've got all the sock wrapped around. It's about a 1/4 inch in where I can get it. I've got some little clamps on here to hold it. This is a little less dry than I would want it to be at this point. If I was doing it for myself, I'd probably give it an hour or so and let it dry at this point, but because we're making a video, we're just going to push on through. I think we can safely do this without too much problem. Here's our felt. We're probably going to have to trim this down, actually. That looks pretty good. Let's see. Make sure that it's big enough. So you can see my teeth are going to cover it on the top and on the bottom. So that's actually cut pretty well. I think we can work with this. When I originally designed this, I actually wanted to do a 3D printed hinge, and it just never really worked very well. I never was really very happy with how it opened and closed and how thick it was. So it really wasn't until I decided, you know what, I don't need a hinge. I can just use the material to hold it all together, that it really turned out. So yeah, use lots of glue. The only thing is if you use too much, which I almost always do, it does seep through a little bit of the felt, but I think I'd rather have that than have it not have enough and fall apart. All right, so we're going to put a little bit on the felt too. So let's just put that down like that and press it in nice and tight. That looks pretty good. All right, and then we're going to put a little tiny bit around the edges. Just glop that down there. That's looking good. And let's get this edge too. I might take a minute and let this dry just a little bit, and then we're going to come back and trim off the excess felt on the back. So let's use the magic of video and take a break, and we'll come back and trim that once it's dried just a little bit, maybe 10 minutes or so. All right, so let's trim off the felt. There we go, that looks pretty good. I like to do it from the back side so I can kind of just cheat it in just a little bit. There we go. There, perfect. Not so perfect. All right, there we go. Looks good. I could use a little glue. Right there. And the rest of it looks pretty good. All right. We need to put the teeth in, so we're going to have to pull these out, unfortunately. And you know what? So the best way to do this is to pull one out at a time. I do know that. And let's get a new glove. Or, you know what, better let's just lose the gloves altogether. All right, so let's push that in that way. This definitely matters because we're going to cinch these this time. So face like that. Face it inward. And because it is a pain in the butt to undo these afterwards. Now, let's see if we can. Now this is where, if it's nice and dry, you could actually stick your hand in there. In fact, you know what? Let's not take any chances. Let's clip that. All right. So here's the problem I'm having is it's coming out the back of the sock. So we got to stretch it just a little bit and let's see if we can get it to thread through or not. And there we can see it right there. So let's see if we can force it through. There we go. Perfect. Came through. All right, that's what we want right there. We can get that out of the way that way. Let's try this again. All right, one more time. Through. The reason I'm doing these one at a time is so that we keep our spacing here and everything stays nicely proportioned and in place. So let's cut that one through. All right, let's see if we can keep it from going through the sock this time. So try to angle it in, get a little space there, and then push it down. Now it's flat. All right, now stop it with your fingernail from going anymore. Like I said, if this was drier, I could just do this from the back side with my hand, but there we go, through. That. Oh yeah, just give yourself a little more space. You can pull that through a little more, and you got a lot more room. And now, this should be pretty easy to get through. There we go. All right, that and that. So now, let's put some glue on. And this time, we really can glop it on because we've got a hole in our glue. Cool. All right, glop it on. Just put a lot in there. Especially since I have a hole in this glue and I think it's the end of its life, so no more. All right, just get it up underneath there. This is really gonna hold it together. I would put a little bit on that sock edge right there so that everything gets clamped together nicely. If it wasn't tight enough before, it will be now. One thing is you may have a little bit seep through the holes. There's really not a whole lot you can do about that. I suppose you could put some paper towel back there to keep it from getting on the top of the sock. All right, that is clamped down pretty good. I suspect that my paint is going to get a little messed up from this. All right. Let's do the top one there first because these are a little easier. Boy, this is gross. All right, I don't know what's going to stay in this video and what's not, so if you haven't seen it, I actually put my mouth in backwards, which was pretty smooth. So there we go. All right, there's that one. Let's get this one in here. Boy, there's no way I'd be able to do this with these gloves this time, but I kind of wish I had. All right, there we go. So now we're gonna push this on through the hole. Right there. And right there. There we go. Pull that on up, pull that on up. Let's push this nice and tight. That looks pretty good. Well, aside from all the glue that I got everywhere. We'll zip tie this. I don't know how zip ties are gonna work with all that glue, but that one's backwards, cool. All right. If this happens to you, you're gonna have to put a twist on this side and a twist on this side. Do that. The good news is these zip ties don't stay in, so. There we go. So you can see I twisted that just so it stays. All right. Now this time, all right, we're gonna wipe off some of that glue too. Let's get it nice and mashed down. And so the last little bit is adding the eyes on. This is a pretty finicky part of the process. This is harder than most of the other bits. So what I like to do is put these on top and try to figure out and get them nice and lined up and figure out where our eyes need to be. One, you're gonna want to put these on here and kind of judge how far apart they need to be because the eyes are quite a bit bigger than the base. So like right there is pretty good. Gives us a nice spacing. Like I said, this is pretty tough. And the cool thing is with the zip ties, once you get it on there, you can zip tie it down and check it. Or maybe not zip tie it all the way, but just, you know, loosely zip tie it down and then check and see how they land with your hand in there, because if they're off by a little bit, they look pretty wonky. So you may have to do it again. And this is maybe not the funnest part of the process, but I've tried to make it as easy as possible. Now I'm using a black sock, which is not the best idea in the world because you can't see your Sharpie, but we'll see what we can do. We want to try to get these as parallel as possible. We're just going to mark here, and we'll see if that goes through. I don't know if it will. All right, and then there. And let's see if we can get this one. And the other thing is try to make sure your sock is not stretched out in any way. See, I can already tell that that is slightly off, but hey, the show must go on, right? Let's check this again. See if we can get it relatively straight. All right, so check your edges right there. That looks pretty good. You can probably tell better than I can, but anyway, there we go. Just a little bit. That looks cool. All right, so just through there and through there. With a white sock, this would be a whole lot easier, or any other color. But we can kind of see it. Let's mark that one just a little better. All right. Yes, so take your time on this part because the eyes really do matter. I mean, if anything on the puppet, it might be the most important bit. I'm going to leave the pupils out for now because I'd rather put them in after I have the puppet all together and I can adjust their angle. Let's leave that out for now. All right. So I'm going to put this in my hand, and you're not going to be able to see what I'm doing in here because I'm inside the sock, but I may only do one of these and then I'll skip ahead so you don't have to watch it. I have some chance of actually hitting this one and like getting it right because I can kind of see them. The other black side is going to be tough. This is by far the most finicky part of this. All right, so we're going to put this in here. We're going to try to keep that face to the inside. And we're going to put our hand through and poke through the little black mark. All right. And you kind of want to keep the orientation of the zip tie. Let's see, can we get it through there? It's not quite right, is it? All right, let's get that right. There we go, that's pretty good. And that feels pretty good. Poked it through the circle. And we're just gonna run it through the eyeball, like this. And now we're gonna poke it through the dot. Where is it? Right here. So we're gonna poke it through that. And it's not going through the little disc yet, but that's okay. All right. This is gonna be a disaster, isn't it? All right. Now, all right. So now I've got it through the other side of the little disc. So let's flip this inside out now. You can try to do it earlier and flip it inside out, but there's just no really good way to do this as far as I can tell. And I've made a few of these. Getting it threaded through seems to be the best way. Surprisingly, that's the fastest. All right. Now we can see what we're doing, sorta. All right. And we're just gonna thread that through the zip tie. All right, and do not cinch it down all the way. There we go, we just cinch it down a little bit. All right, let's do the other one now. And I probably am not going to show you this bit or we'll fast forward. Alright, let's see. That must be the spot right there. There we go. Oh, I can feel this one. We're just going to zip tie this bad boy right up. There we go. All right. Now let's see. All right, so now we're going to put our hand in here. Let's see. Obviously, I still have the bottom part on there, but does that look? Oh no. No. Pretty off. All right, well, let's do it again. All right, maybe the second time's a charm. Yeah, I'm just gonna eyeball it this time. I don't know if the circles or the marks really help me that much. All right, there. This could be disastrous, right? All right, I'm gonna put my hand in here and pull the thing tight as I glue. So I've got this little base under here and it's just nice and easy to glue to. So let's do that. Just put some glue in there, try to get it on both sides, and let's pull that tight with our zip tie. There we go. And let's do it again this side. And I'm gonna just pull that one more time. That looks pretty decent. All right, and I made a huge mess. All right, just get some glue on there, on the top, and let's pull our zip tie down, cinch it up. There we go. All right, we've got our sock turned inside out, and after everything is dry, we're gonna clip out these zip ties so that the mouth can move, and we'll probably, let's trim off these guys. I like to leave these zip ties even though they're a little uncomfortable. They really hold those eyeballs in place. The glue, it'll hold for a while, but I think eventually it'll come loose. So that's trimmed up. Mine is not dry yet, so I'm not gonna trim these out just yet. So that's pretty much the process. I didn't go over the paint process. That's a little too much for the amount of time I have today to make videos and do the whole thing. But yeah, pretty much the whole process is lay down a base coat of red, and then I put down a base white on the teeth. Then I went in and added a little bit darker coat around the teeth and around the bottom. And then I came back in with my original red and went back over just the gums and the highlights. And that's the painting process basically. It's not a perfect paint job, but it's not too bad. The last bit would be to glue in the eyeballs. I'm not going to do this yet because I'd really like that tool out of there so I can put my hand in there and see at what angle these eyes are going to be at when my hand's in there. That way they kind of line up, because these are these vertical eyes. If they were round, I wouldn't worry about it too much, but because they have vertical slits, I kind of want them facing up. And if I do them at this point, it may be that the eyes cock out like that and it just looks kind of weird, or I don't know. I want to see it. So, but what I'll do, just to give you an idea, is you just put a dab of glue in there, put the eyeball in, and then, cool. And then you just put a dab of glue down, put the eyeball in, throw a piece of tape over top to hold it in. And that was a terrible tape job, but basically that. And then same thing for the other one, and you're done. Let it sit and dry overnight, trim out all your zip ties, and you're good to go. Like I said, here's the non-painted project, and you can see eyes went on pretty good on this one. We got our zip ties out of there, and if we look inside, there's no tool in there either, obviously. You can see a little bit of tape, and that's it. I hope you enjoy building a puppet. I hope it works for you. This video was a little rough to make. Had a few mistakes, but that's all right. These are all things that you may encounter, and you know, I think you got this though. You know, I think the only things to maybe watch out for are the zip ties. When you're doing them, make sure that the little grooves face inward towards the loop, and they should work. If they don't, you're going to have to give it a half turn, so you're gonna have to twist it on this side and on this side if they're wrong. So and then just do that. It really doesn't matter on most of them other than the eyeballs, because those may actually stay in. The rest of the zip ties you cut out, so it's not that big of a deal. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you enjoy the puppet. I hope that I get something usable out of this video, because we had a few mistakes. But yeah, thanks a bunch. I appreciate it, and enjoy. Have a good night.